We have had a system of government that has eroded our productive capacity. As many decades ago, the railroads were ruined by the rules and the regulations and labor policies, and then the steel mills disappeared, and now the car companies disappeared. The chemical companies are in trouble now, and we need to look at those policies if we ever expect to get these jobs back again. And the policies are based on these basic principles of freedom and property rights. We have lost this whole concept of property rights. One thing that happened 100 years ago or so is that we came to this conclusion that freedom was in two different sections, two segments. One is you have economic liberty, and then you also have personal liberty. That you have this personal liberty, nobody challenges. You should be able to read what you want and go to the church that you want, but you don't have a right to keep what you earn. You don't have a right to spend your money the way you see fit. So these two things were separated, and we have half of the country who defend economic liberty but not personal liberty, and the other half will defend personal liberty but not economic liberty. And then they both seem to be all mixed up on foreign policy. So why don't we just put it back together and say that we as individuals, each and every one of us, have a right to our life, our liberties, and that we ought to be able to keep the fruits of our labor. If we did that, we would solve a lot of our problems, but it would make the assumption that you have personal responsibility. Does it make the assumption that everybody's going to be well off and everything is going to be perfect? No, it doesn't make that. But the one assumption and projection that you can make is the more and more government you have, and the more and more they interfere, the more we will have equality, unfortunately, of poverty, and that is what we do not need. So often people forget that our lives and our liberties don't come from our government. Our lives and our liberties come from our Creator, from our God. And we're important for that reason, and that government should be there to protect those liberties and really nothing else. I mean, a national defense, and they're supposed to protect a sound currency, but they have done things in a perverse way. Instead of protecting the value of the dollar, they become the counterfeiters. Instead of protecting the importance of your property rights, they steal your property. They make you pay rent, and then they tell you what you can do with it. So they're always interfering with contracts and personal liberties, and that is why we get to this crisis. But ultimately, though, this will have to be addressed. The one reason why I'm more optimistic than ever is really because of people like you talking about something. It used to be that in the whole country, this would be the whole crowd in the whole country that would care about the Federal Reserve. But just think of the numbers of people that have gotten interest in the Federal Reserve in the last couple years. And I discovered that in the presidential campaign on the universities, on the campuses, and I still go to the campuses, and they are talking about it, and they know the importance of sound money, and they know the importance of the Constitution. Now that would be a novel change. This only sent people to Washington that understand the Constitution and that obeys the Constitution. So in spite of the problems that we have, there's lots of room for optimism. There's room for optimism because we've had great traditions. We are waking the people. There were a lot of people who knew about these issues and talked about them, but they were just sort of unable to get their message out because they didn't know how many there were. But today, the remnant is becoming alive again, but the young people are becoming alive again. But we have a weapon that we have been able to use and make sure this message is spread. And that is something that up until now, and we have to keep it this way, up until now, the government hasn't been able to suppress, and that is the use of the internet. Today, it's rather amazing how information can spread through the internet. And hopefully we will be able to keep the government from taking it over, but hopefully even when they try, they won't be able to, because it will be so big and massive. But this is an age that we live in that we can see change come more rapidly. And right now, the American people are ready and ripe for this, and it's going to be better all the time. And this is why some of these debates going on, like medical care, they're very, very important. And it's very encouraging that we're getting the attention on the monetary issue. But each and every one of us has a responsibility. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to our family, our friends, and our neighbors, to be self-reliant and to take care of our problems. We have a responsibility to study the issues, explain them, and spread the message, bring more people into the fold, and then be active, as you are today, to be active and participate in one way or the other, to either be in education or in politics or supporting other people. So there are so many things. Everybody has a job, but everybody's job might be slightly different. But there's reason to be optimistic about this because we're given an opportunity. The status quo is not going to be maintained, whether it's foreign policy or the issue of domestic personal liberties and the welfare state and the monetary issue. The status quo will not be maintained. But the key to this is that our voices are heard and our understanding is clear, so that we know what we believe in and we don't go off on tangents and don't get off on issues that aren't as important or get off into anything that hints of violence. But at this time, I believe that we have every reason to be optimistic that this can be reversed if we continue this momentum. I thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. As right now, we're going to get up on all the speakers up here so that we can take a picture with everyone. So as you would, just be patient for one moment, please. We would like to thank all of you for showing up here today. We want to thank Live Location on TV for being here. We had some technical difficulties, but however, we got this all over the internet, so we will have this. Thank you for showing up. And the Fed! And the Fed! Ron Paul! Revolution! Ron Paul! Revolution! And the Fed! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great evening. One last announcement, we will be having a barbecue in January, late January, to continue this movement on. So please